here is our cute little Ronald Weasley, and we are going to start with his skin. And I'm going to do one a little bit different because we just came back from our retreat, and I had somebody there that doesn't like to use the E04, which is usually our darkest color. So I told said person that I would do another version not using uh, that marker. So I'm still going to be using the most of the markers that we use, but instead of EO4, I'm going to be using uh, BV20 as our darkest shadow color. And then we'll be going into our E11, E21, E00, 000, and quad. So those are the markers that you want to get out. I just need to find my E00 really quick. And then we can get on our way. And of course, can't find it when I need it. So E00, where'd you go? Oh, here you go. All right. So it's basically the same way of how you do it if you're using your E04, except for just going to be putting BV20 down first. So here is BV20, which is dull lavender. I always do my body parts first, so I'm just going to start in with the hands and the little neck section, and I am just going to add a little there. It is like a grayish purple, and then on this side here, and then just a little bit under the neck and around. So that is our BV20. Then I'm going to go in with my E11, and I'm going to start going over and extending it out. This is small sections of coloring, so not a whole bunch of detail is going to be going in here. We're probably only going to be using 3 or 4 colors at this time. Next is your E21. E21. And again, just going over and extending out. And you should see how that BV20 is just casting. It makes it like a little bit of a dull gray color. And then I'm just going to take my E00 and I'm just going to finish up filling in the rest of these sections. And that is it for our body, for our little Ronald Weasley. And now we can go in and start on his face. So I'm going back in now with that BV20. And I'm just going to put shadows down underneath his hairline. So underneath the hairline by his ear, I'm going to put a shadow in front of his little sideburn area. And then I'm just going to follow the hairline across the rest of his face. And since I'm going to make shadows, I'm going to also go down the side of this face a bit on that side. And I'm going to also darken in his little frowny eye parts, a little on his nose, a little on his underneath the mouth, and this little furrow of his little worrisome little frown line of his little eyebrow there. Okay, and that is just where we're going to be putting in those BV20s. And now we're going to go in with our E11, and we are going to go on top of that BV20 and extend it out. Okay, and I'm also going to start coming down the sideburn of that part of his hair to match it up with this other side. And again, I'm just going to go over what I already put down and just extending it further. And again, you should be able to see it just gives like a little bit of a casting of a grayish undertone under your skin colors which just is going to help give you that dimension of shadow without it being so bold when we use that EO4 like we traditionally do. And then I'm also going to go underneath the eyes again, that part on the nose, under his little mouth, and under his little eyebrow. Okay, again, that was E11. Next, we go in with our E21. And with our E21, again, you're just going to go over and extend it out some more. And I'm also going to start bringing down a little bit on the side of this face. And then I can go ahead and continue like I did across the under part of his hairline. And just extending it out further from where we were. Again, just keep just repetitiveness, going over those colors and extending it out so we're filling in more of that face. Then we're going to start getting into those lighter skin colors. So now we're going to go into our E00. Just going to start softening. And I'm also going to, on this bottom section, I'm going to make it go all the way across, so it connects on that chin. And then I can go up the side of the face so it butts right up to where his side of his eye is. And then I can go ahead and start bringing this other side down some. I'm also going to start going around the outer portion of the eye, softening that bit on the nose and his mouth, and then coming around the side of that eye. Next, we're going to go in with our E000. His ear is pretty much all colored in at this point. And I'm just going over and softening all the color we've already put down. Remembering to go around the eyes, branching out on that nose. And so I'm just left with this little patch of white in the center of the face, which will now just get, oh, this is my bad E000. Let me just switch that out with my other one. Okay, so now in with my E-quadruple, I can just go over everything, softening those lines. You should just have a nice transition of the colors with the shading under the hairline and on the right side of the face. Now, the beauty of using a BV20 is you can always go back just with the tip of your marker, put a little bit back in there again, just in these little sections that you did before. And it'll really look like some nice faded shading in the area. It's going to look a little weird at this point, but once you get his hair done and his clothes, it all just comes together really nicely. With the shading. Okay. So that is the skin portion of our Ronald Weasley. And then you can take a very light pinky color. I'm going to use R20. And I'm just going to hit a little bit underneath his little cheeks. And then go over it, the edges, with my E quadruple to just soften and fade those cheeks out a little bit. Now he has a little bit of some nice little pink cheeks, but it's not overly done. And that takes care of our skin. I believe, I'm not sure, Ron Weasley, obviously he has this red hair. I think he has blue eyes, might be green. So I'm going to go double check on that. And then for his clothing, we're going to be using some cool grays and warm grays. His sweater will be a cool gray. His pants and his coat is going to be warm grays. So we're going to go ahead, since I have those markers near me, I am going to grab my cool grays so I can do his little sweater vest. So you can either grab, if you don't have all of them, of the markers that I'm going to be using, if you have just evens or just odds, you just want to use like every other one when you're doing this portion with the cool grays, because you do not need to have all of them. So I am going to be using C5, C3, and C1. So I'm just going to use some of the, and maybe a C0 as well. So I'm going to start with that C5 as my darkest color. So C5. And I'm going to have the darkest shadow on the right side of his sweater here. It's underneath this part of his jacket. So I am just going to put down, I'm just going to put a little fold going in there. Okay. And then let me think here. So this is the Gryffindor colors. This part should still be the gray too. Okay. So there is our first color of the C5. Then I'm going to go in with my C3. And I'm going to go over and just extend it out a bit. And then my C1 is going to go and soften the rest of that sweater. So you can see it's got a little bit of the movement in it because of that fold. I'm going to do this one more time. So back in with that C5, I'm just going to go down like so. And then my C3 is going over it, extending it out. And then finally, that C1, just going to blend it till it lightens up to the other side of, for his sweater. And now we're going to do warm grays for the pants. So the same concept, if you have evens, you're going to want to use every other one. If you have odds, every other one. That's basically all you need to do on here. So let me see what ones I have. I think I have evens. So 6, let me see if I have a 4 in here somewhere. Thought I just saw it. W5, no, I need W4. Hold on. Because we do want them to read as 2 different colors. And your warm grays and your cool grays read completely different. And you'll be able to see that when we start coloring the difference here. So let me just pull out all of my W's that I have. We just came back from our Harry Potter retreat, so most of these are in my little catch-all. So let's see, I have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So I'm going to use 5, 7, and 9. Again, if you have evens, you could use 4, 6, 8, and 10. It just depends what you happen to have with you. So for me, W9 is going to be my darkest for my shadows. Oop, wrong side of the marker. So I have my W9. And again, I am going to go down the side of this pant leg, making that little knee indentation. And he also has it on this side as well. And then this pant leg is underneath that pant leg. So I'm also going to put down a shadow here. And then I'm going to do that little knee fold once again on this side and around the pants. And I'm also going to go underneath on the waist because the sweater is sitting on top of his waist. And then I'm going to just go a little bit down the side. So that is with my W9. Then I'm going to come in with my W7. And I'm just going to go over and flush out all of the color that we just put down, just extending, keeping the little white spots for my lightest color where that's going to go. And then in with my W5. And I'm just going to blend that in. And you should be able to see the difference between what a warm gray and what a cool gray is going to look like. Not necessarily because of the numbers that we use, because we used higher numbers on our warm grays than the cool grays, but you could just see the saturation of the undertone of what a cool gray is compared to a warm gray. And then I just want to kick it up again, so I'm just going to go over and do another layer again. So that W9 really getting in those darkest places, and also on that kneecap, and the same on the other leg. And then my W7 is extending that out. And then finally that W5, just to make it all blend together. Get a nice variation on those pants. Now their jackets also are black in color. So we're going to stick with these warm grays again, not the cool grays. So I'm going to use the same markers. And I'm going to do just one little thing a little bit different because I want to be able to break up the pant leg to the jackets, especially on this side since I laid that darkest color there. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to start on the outside, which is this arm here. And as you can see, I'm leaving just a little bit of a sliver of a white line on the edge. And that is what we're going to do again when we get closer, because we don't want to put our darkest against this darkest, because then it's just going to look like a black line. So we want to break it up so that the lightest gray will be from this jacket against his pant leg. I hope that makes sense. But you'll see it when it's colored in. Okay? Excuse me. And then on this side, I'm going to flip it around so that my hand won't be covering it, as you can see. Excuse me. And on this side is where I'm going to leave that a little white line. A little white section between the drawn line of the stamp and the color I'm putting down. And then I'm going to go underneath the color here. And then the same thing here. I'm going to leave a little bit of a white spot as I go up around the neck. And then this part where the underside of where the hand is, I'm just going to color that in completely because that would be the darkest shadow anyway. And then I also want to do the same thing, leaving a little bit of a white smidge on that part of his sleeve. And now, because this is where my darkest is going to go, I'm actually going to come back and make this a little bit thicker because it's a larger area. Okay. And now I can go in with my W7. I'm going to flip it back around because we're going to start on this side here. I'm just going to extend where we put the color down. Just extending. Okay, and then small area, but you should still have some little white lines coming through. Now I can go ahead and flip it over, and I'm going to mimic this little curvy part of the shape. Sorry, I was off camera. This little curvy part from the corner, curving it, going all the way to the top. And then I can also do the part of my collar. I need to get underneath this arm cap here and then repeat it on my sleeve. So I have little white slivers showing up everywhere on here. And that's going to end up getting covered with my W5. So over here on the sleeve, I can just put W5 on top of all of it. And it's just kind of automatically giving it an automatic little highlight of the roll in the fabric. So it's not laying flat. And just go around blending this corner, going around my hand, and then down my sleeve, like so. And this is only the first layer, so it's not going to be a smooth blend, but when you look at it, you should be able to see that it's like you have shine on this collar coming down the side, which breaks up from the pants to the cape. Because if you had just done that bead of dark there, it would have just made it blur right into the pants. And especially on this side, if you had done the darkest there, it would have just blended right into the darkness of his pants. And it would have just looked like a black blob. And we didn't want that. So I'm going to go back with my W9 and I'm going to repeat everything I just did. So the first thing that we did is we made the shadow down, leaving that gap between colors, and then around the collar, and then down, following the shape of the cape. And I know we forgot the part in between his legs. We're going to do that last in just a moment. Okay. Then I flipped him around, if you recalled, and we did the line going straight up where that white gap would have been, a little bit thicker on the bottom, and then we came all the way across underneath that collar part, and then we did the same little white gap of color on the sleeve and on this collar. Then we can go in with our W7, just softening and extending those lines, still leaving those lighter areas exposed for that final color that we're going to do. It just helps to create little catches of light on the fabric, because otherwise you'll just have this great big dark blobby cape. And then our W5, going over those areas. And if you don't feel that you got enough contrast, you can always use a white colored pencil, and I'll show you how to do that as well. But now we have his cape done, and now we need to do that inside part of his legs. And for that, what I'm going to do is I am going to do the right side the darkest, and then just a little pinch with my W7. That first one was W9, sorry, then W7, and then just blend out with my W5. And I'm only going to do the one layer on that. Okay, so now we're going to do shoes, and we have to do stripes. So he is a Gryffindor, so we need a nice bright yellow, or yellow gold rather, and then we're going to need some reds. So I'm going to, reds tend to bleed, so we are going to do our goldy colors first. So I have W38 and W19. These are really, really small sections, so you're not going to have tons of shadowing and stuff like that in these areas. But I'm taking my my Y38, and I am just going to go on the right hand side with that, and then with my Y19, do the other side. And you only need to do one stripe on each, because the other one would be the Gryffindor red. And so for reds, let's see what we have here. I have quite a few different reds, so I got to see which ones, because we also have to do his hair, and he is a redhead as well. So let's just pull some colors out. Again, it's a small little section, so for this Gryffindor stripe, I'm just going to take my R39, and maybe R20, no, let's do R29 and maybe 17. So with my R29, I'm just going to be hitting up this the lower stripe. And then with R17, I'll just blend it out a little lighter. Again, it's super small. Don't really tell that there's a lot of shading in there. And then with my R29, I'm also just going to color in that tie. Okay. For his shoes, I'm just going to grab E59. And I'm just going to put down, oops, sorry about that. E59, I'm just going to put down shadows for the shoe. And then E57, just to lighten and extend it out. So again, nothing crazy blending wise on the shoes with just two colors. But I'm going to just hit that up one more time, just to get that nice little contrast. Okay, so his lower portion of his body is now done. His shoes, his cape, and his sweater. Now we're going to move into his hair, and I am just going to make some swatches really quick off to the side of my paper to see what blends, because I don't want him to look red, I want him to look brown red. So I do know I have my E09, which is a reddish brown. I also have my EO8, but I do need a nice dark red in there for some of the color blends. So that was our 39. Let's see what a 30. I'll tell you these numbers in just a few moments once I start working with them more. And we might even throw in just a little bit of a yellowish tone, or let's see, what's an E35 if I have that. And I just play with colors this way. It's just what helps me, but that gives it a little brown undertone. Okay, so we're back with our Ron, and we're going to be doing his hair. We're going to do one section and then the other. So I just randomly pulled R39, R37, E35, E09, and E08. So those are the colors that I pulled. And we're just going to have fun and play, and we will see what happens when we use these colors, because I'm going to see it for the first time right along with you. So I'm going to start with that R39, which is my darkest color. And I am going to first start flicking from the bottom of these pieces, coming off the right side of his head. And I'm just making some long, straggled coloring here. And then I'm just going to follow the line of the part, because this side of the hair is underneath this side. So that underside of the part of his hair is going to be underneath. So that's going to be the darkest. And then I also just want to do some flicks coming from the top of his head down. Okay, so that was our R39. Then I'm going to go in with my R37, and I'm not going to do a whole bunch, but I'm just going to extend, because this is going to start lightening up that darker red. I'm just laying it over and extending it just a little, but nothing too crazy. Then I can go into my EO9, which is now going to get it more into that brownish red color. And I'm going to just go over and extend on that a little bit as well. And it's going to get into those little highlight areas where you'll start to see the reddish part come through. Let's see. I'm going to try the E35 first, just to kind of soften it. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to use my EO9, I don't think. Maybe I'll go in there with it in a little bit, but not at this time. Okay, and that is our first side of his hair. It's got a little bit of the light highlight in there, and we're going to go back later and we're going to darken those roots. But now we're going to do, first of all, this underside of his hair right here. It's going to be really dark, so we're just going to go ahead and color that in with our R39. And we're going to add more to that in a little bit as well. So with this R39, we're going to now work on this side of his hair. So we're going to come up again with our straggles, and I'm just going to follow the way his hair is actually drawn in the stamp, so I can kind of get an idea where these flicks need to kind of go. So just always follow the lines drawn in by the stamp artist. Gives you the idea of the flow of the hair. And then this little sideburn is underneath this little cusp of hair. So we're going to bring that down there. And then I'm going to not worry about that little tail just yet because I want to get these flicks coming around the side. Because then I can come back here and go underneath the skin that we colored earlier and flick these ones down. And then over here, since these ones are coming up, I know that these ones here should be going this way. And then they're going to start turning and going this way with Ron's hair. And I just like the edges to be the darkest color as well. So I'm just going to get those coming like so. Now in with my R37. Again, fewer strokes, extending, getting that reddish color back in there. A little right there. Then in with that E09, which starts to give it the brown coloring of the hair. Because remember, redheads are not pure red. I mean, they got brown undertones in there as well. So you don't want to just have only red colors in there. You want to actually add some brown to the hair. And you want to go over the red so it tones it down a bit too. And then with my E35, which is really just softening a lot of these edges and then giving that brown undertone as well. And again, going over the red so it desaturates it to give it that brown tone. So it's not like red stop brown comes in there. You want to go over it all to help it keep the color a little bit more uniform. It should have a nice variation of that hair tone. Okay, if you like how yours look, you can stop here. You don't have to do it again. But if you want to add a little bit more depth again, you're just going to go back in and just highlight some of those dark root areas. So it's not going to be as intense as that first layer, but you're just going to hit with that dark R39 where those dark colors are coming up from. Just darkening it in. And then don't forget, you also want the roots that are coming from the top as well. So I just added a few there. And then the other side. You're just helping darkening in those colors. And it just really helps to get a few more straggle lines in there to help with that. here is our red-headed Ronald Weasley. Alexa, what color eyes does Ron Weasley have?
Ron Weasley's eye color is blue.
Blue. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to give him his blue eyes. And let's see what I have in my little bag here for some blues. Again, we just got back from a retreat, so I'm just grabbing the colors that we used from the retreat. So it's a little bit random colors. But the blues I have, let's see.
Here's a color,
Oop.
lavender indigo.
Alexa, cancel. Just want to swatch.
Canceling.
Oops. I'm just going to swatch out some of these blues I had in my bag to see. These two are very similar in color. So is it 20 and 18? Okay. Just want to give him some nice blue eyes. Okay. So we are going to use our, what do we got here? B28. And I love these eyes. I think they're a lot of fun to do. So for my eye, you have the two white highlight circles. What I like to do is with my darkest color, you see there's a bit of a small gap between the two highlight colors. So I'm going to just color that in the darkest. And then with my darkest color, from the little small one, I just color a line down about halfway of the side of that eyeball. And then I'm going to go in with my B16, which is my second darkest color. And from here, I'm just going to go from the highlight and blend it with the blue that's there and start to come around a little bit on the eye. Then I go into my next, which is a B14, which is where it's going to start getting lighter, halfway up the other side. And then my B000 is just going to fan it out up to the top. Just softens that whole eye. And that's how we do our cute little anime chibi eyes. I'm just going to do it again. So from that side, I'm just going to put down that darkest line. Just helps to really kick it up a bit. Then my second, which is my B16, which is just fanning it out. Then into your B14, coming up around the side. And then your B000, fanning and smoothing up to the top. Now you want to repeat the same process on the other eye, but you see here the highlights are mirrored image. You don't want to mirror image your colors. You want to keep the colors the same. So you're still going to go dark to the light. I find that when you end up mirror imaging it, they kind of look a little cross-eyed. So that is why I don't suggest you mirror image it. You can try it. You might like the look of it. I personally don't. But back with my B28, I'm just coming down from that little white highlight circle and drawing my line down about half the distance of the side. Then with my next color, blending it out. That was B16. And then my B14 starts coming around the bottom side to my B triple, which is going to lighten and fade it on the way out. And then I'm just going to do it again really quick. Oh, there's my darkest. Blending that out. And my under eye part. And then finally my, let's see that. And there we have our cute blue-eyed Mr. Ronald Weasley. And that's it. You can go ahead and place him on a card, do whatever you need to do. Again, if you wanted to add more contrast to the hair, you can always go in with a nice dark brown, or even a one of your toners. Do however you need to do. I'll stick, I think I have a toner over here. Let's see, I have T7, T8. Those are a little bit too darker than I want to actually go into. Let's see if I have a T5 or a 4 in this magical bag here. And I do not, but I do have, let's see what E79. Got an E79. This is just if you wanted to add, especially for the root area of the hair, to see how it's just giving it a little bit more contrast. Again, you don't have to. I just like to have a little bit more contrast, especially in my darkest areas. And then we're going to just, especially in these roots with Mr. Ronald Weasley. Maybe I'll do a few coming out. It's getting dark in my house as well, so I'm starting to lose some light. But you just won't. They're just few and far little flicks of darkness. Again, I like them coming up the sides. Okay. And then I can always go back in with my E35, and that's just going to tone it down just a smidge and smooth out the harshness of where those lines end. Kind of how we did it like on his cheeks, the R20, and then we put our E quadruple 0, and it just softens it out a little bit more. Helps tone it down. And that's what's great about building up the layers with the markers. Just keep adding more, and it will just soften and tone down where you need it to be. Okay, so there is our Ronald Weasley. Thank you for joining me. Stick them on a card. Tag us, hashtag stamp anything. Post them in our Facebook group, or tag us on Instagram, or wherever you might do it. I would love to see how you colored your Ronald Weasley and the card you ended up putting them on. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.